You know, one of the most fascinating things about nutrition today is how easily we've turned it into a kind of belief system. We label certain foods as superfoods, and from that point on, they become untouchable in our minds, immune to criticism, immune to nuance. Blueberries are one of those foods. We hear about their antioxidants, their ability to fight aging, their brain boosting effects, and we assume they can do no wrong. But science as always reminds us that nature doesn't work in absolutes. A food's power doesn't just come from what it contains. It comes from how we use it, how we combine it, and how our body receives it. When I say that blueberries can turn toxic, I'm not talking about poison in the traditional sense. I'm talking about biochemical interference, the subtle but powerful ways in which certain food combinations can block the very benefits we're hoping to gain. It's not about fear, it's about understanding. Blueberries, in their pure form, are one of nature's most sophisticated forms of biological communication. Every anthocyanin, every polyphenol inside that deep blue skin is like a message your body knows how to read. A signal that says, reduce inflammation here, repair that cell there, strengthen this vessel. But when you pair them with the wrong foods, it's as if you're scrambling that signal. The body can't interpret it. The message never arrives. This is where the concept of food synergy becomes so important. Most people think of nutrition as a checklist. Eat your fruits, eat your vegetables, get your protein. But the body doesn't process food in isolation. It's a chemistry lab, a living network where everything interacts. One food can enhance another or it can silence it. What matters isn't just what you eat, but how the components come together inside you. That's why two people can eat the same healthy breakfast, say blueberries with yogurt and granola, and have very different biological outcomes depending on their age, microbiome, and metabolic health. Now, here's where things get especially important for seniors. As we age, our systems of repair slow down. The body becomes less forgiving of mistakes, less adaptable to poor combinations. The same breakfast that worked fine at 30 might have a completely different impact at 60. Antioxidants might not get absorbed as efficiently, inflammation might linger longer, and blood sugar spikes might have deeper consequences. Blueberries, incredible as they are, can't perform their magic if they're chemically blocked before they even enter your cells. Think about it this way: your body is like a symphony, and every food is an instrument. Blueberries might be the violins, rich, emotional, full of vitality. But if you pair them with something that drowns out their sound, like heavy cream or refined sugar, you lose the harmony. The beauty is gone, not because the violins stopped playing, but because something louder and less refined took over the stage. That's how good foods can become counterproductive. Not toxic in the sense of poison, but toxic in the sense of distortion, a disruption of the body's natural intelligence. And that brings us to a deeper truth. Healthy eating isn't about worshiping certain foods. It's about learning the language of your body and listening to what it's saying. Blueberries are not a magic bullet. They are part of a larger dialogue between nature and your biology. If you respect that dialogue, if you give it the right conditions, your body will respond with strength, clarity, and resilience. So when you hear that blueberries can turn toxic, don't react with fear, react with curiosity. Ask, what's happening biochemically when I mix this with that? What message am I sending my body? Because once you start asking those questions, you stop being a passive consumer and start becoming an active participant in your own longevity. The truth is, food isn't just fuel, it's a form of communication. Every bite you take is a sentence in the story your body is telling. So make sure your meals speak clearly. Because when you understand your food, you don't just live longer, you live wiser. When we talk about blueberries, we're really talking about one of nature's most elegant designs for self-preservation, not just for the plant, but for us. Blueberries evolved their deep indigo color not for our enjoyment, but as a defense mechanism. That dark pigment, the anthocyanin, is a shield against ultraviolet radiation, oxidative stress, and microbial attack. Yet, by a stroke of biological poetry, that same pigment also protects human cells in remarkably similar ways. What the blueberry created to defend itself in nature now defends us from the gradual wear and tear of aging. It's one of the most beautiful examples of what I call biological empathy. Nature doesn't separate us from the food we eat, it builds bridges between species, sharing molecules that speak the same cellular language. When we eat blueberries, we're not just consuming vitamins or antioxidants, we're receiving a molecular message that our body instinctively knows how to interpret. That message says reduce inflammation, repair DNA, strengthen blood vessels, improve blood flow. At the heart of this communication are the anthocyanins, a family of polyphenols that give blueberries their striking hue. These compounds are remarkably powerful because they interact directly with the body's angiogenesis system, the network of blood vessels that nourishes every cell, organ, and muscle. Blueberries help keep that system balanced, ensuring that new vessels grow where they're needed and are pruned where they shouldn't be. It's a kind of internal gardening. For seniors, this is critical. As we age, the small capillaries that deliver oxygen and nutrients begin to weaken, and with that, muscle tissue, memory, and vitality start to decline. Blueberries act as gardeners, tending, pruning, and nurturing these microscopic roots of life. But anthocyanins do something else, something deeper. They interact with the DNA repair mechanisms inside our cells. Every day, our DNA faces tens of thousands of tiny insults from stress, pollution, UV light, and time itself. The antioxidants in blueberries neutralize the free radicals that cause those insults, giving our cells the space and energy to repair themselves. This isn't just anti-aging, it's pro-resilience. It's about equipping the body to defend, recover, and thrive even as the years advance. For someone over 60, that resilience is more than a luxury. It's a necessity. Muscle recovery slows, brain plasticity declines, and oxidative stress accelerates. Blueberries step into that picture like small but mighty allies. Studies show that seniors who consume blueberries regularly demonstrate measurable improvements in cognitive performance, reaction time, and mobility. This isn't marketing hype, it's observable biology. When those anthocyanins reach your bloodstream, they cross the blood-brain barrier and start activating neurons in regions tied to memory and coordination. They literally help the brain fire more efficiently. Yet, it's easy to misunderstand what this means. Blueberries don't act like a pill. They don't flood your system with instant results. They teach your body how to return to balance. They support the systems that make healing possible. That's why consistency matters more than quantity. A handful of blueberries every day can have more long-term benefit than a giant smoothie once a week. It's about rhythm, not excess. The body doesn't need to be overwhelmed. It needs to be nourished in harmony with how it naturally regenerates. There's also a psychological side to this that I find fascinating. When you choose to eat something as simple as blueberries, consciously, mindfully, you're participating in an act of self-preservation that's both biological and philosophical. You're saying to your body, I respect your intelligence. I trust your ability to heal. That mindset is as important as the food itself because the way we think about eating changes how our body responds to it. Stress, guilt, and distraction alter metabolism. Awareness and gratitude enhance it. So when we say blueberries are a superfood, we should mean more than just nutrient density. They're a conversation between nature and human biology, a reminder that the answers to aging and vitality aren't locked in laboratories, but often growing quietly in the soil beneath our feet. The real power of blueberries isn't in their hype, but in their harmony. A harmony that begins with how we understand and respect their chemistry. Because when you learn how nature communicates through food, you stop eating just to survive and start eating to evolve. Here's something I think most people never consider. Even the healthiest foods can work against you if they're eaten in the wrong combination. We tend to view nutrition in isolation. Blueberries are good, milk is good, sugar tastes good. So what could possibly go wrong if we mix them together? But the human body doesn't operate on a checklist, it operates on chemistry. Every bite we take sets off a cascade of reactions, each influencing the next. When those reactions align, the result is healing. When they conflict, the result is interference. I call this the food interference effect. It's one of the most underappreciated ideas in nutrition, and yet it's responsible for why so many people eat all the right foods and still fail to see results. The interference effect happens when the chemical compounds in one food block distort or neutralize the beneficial effects of another. In the case of blueberries, one of the most antioxidant rich foods on earth, this effect can completely erase their healing potential. Let's start with the first and most common culprit, dairy. Many people add blueberries to yogurt, smoothies, or cereal with milk, thinking they're creating a nutrient-packed breakfast. But what's happening inside the body tells a very different story. The proteins in dairy, particularly casein, have a tendency to bind with polyphenols like anthocyanins, the molecules that give blueberries their deep color and powerful antioxidant properties. When that bond forms, your body can't absorb those antioxidants effectively. It's as if you've put a lock on the very nutrients you meant to release. The blueberries don't become harmful, but they do become silent, muted, stripped of their full potential. Now, add refined sugar into the mix and the problem deepens. Blueberries, by nature, help regulate oxidative stress. They reduce inflammation and stabilize blood sugar levels. But refined sugar creates the exact opposite condition. It spikes insulin, triggers inflammatory pathways, and floods your bloodstream with free radicals. Those free radicals then destroy the same antioxidants you just consumed. So while your taste buds may enjoy the sweet contrast, your cells experience a kind of biochemical tug of war, healing on one side, destruction on the other. And destruction usually wins. The third interference comes from processed oils and fried foods, the invisible enemy of cellular health. These oils, often found in pastries, fried snacks, and even healthy granolas, contain oxidized fats that generate toxic compounds in the bloodstream. These compounds don't just compete with blueberry antioxidants, they overwhelm them. Imagine pouring a glass of clean water into a pot of boiling oil. The purity doesn't survive the environment. That's what happens when blueberries share a plate with industrial oils. The delicate anthocyanins are chemically destroyed before they can even begin their work. So, what does all this mean for the average person, or more importantly, for seniors over 60? It means that the way you combine your food is as crucial as what you choose to eat. At that age, the body's antioxidant capacity is already lower. The natural enzymes that repair oxidative damage are slowing down. If you then add foods that interfere with the protective molecules in blueberries, you're effectively cutting your own lifeline in half. And here's the philosophical irony. The same foods that make blueberries taste better are often the ones that make them less effective. Cream makes them richer, sugar makes them sweeter, oil makes them shine, but together they make them weak. The pleasure is short-lived, the cost invisible but real. Now, I'm not suggesting fear or rigidity in eating, quite the opposite. What I'm advocating is awareness. Understanding that food is chemistry allows you to make choices that are not restrictive, but intelligent. It's about alignment, not abstinence. When you respect how the body processes different compounds, you can eat in a way that amplifies rather than interferes. The truth is, food synergy isn't about perfection. It's about precision. It's knowing that blueberries perform best when they're allowed to speak clearly to your biology without distortion from dairy proteins, sugar spikes, or toxic fats. When you remove interference, you don't just restore their benefits, you unlock them. So the next time you reach for that blueberry muffin, that yogurt parfait, or that sugary smoothie, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this food healing me or confusing me? Because inside that question lies the key to a longer, clearer, and stronger life. Your health isn't built on the foods you eat in isolation. It's built on the relationships they form inside you. Aging is often described as a natural process, but biologically speaking, it's more like a gradual unraveling, a slow weakening of the systems that once ran effortlessly. For most people, this begins silently, deep inside the cells, long before any physical signs appear. After 60, that quiet decline becomes more visible. Muscle mass thins, energy wanes, memory softens, and recovery takes longer. It's not simply about getting older, it's about the body losing its ability to defend and repair itself as efficiently as it once did. And this is where nutrition stops being about calories or taste and starts being about survival at the cellular level. Now, here's the fascinating part. The human body has built in defense systems designed to keep us strong in youthful angiogenesis, regeneration, DNA repair, and the microbiome. Each of these systems relies on proper nourishment to stay active. But with age, those systems don't shut down. They just need clearer instructions. And food is the language that delivers those instructions. For someone over 60, the quality of that language becomes critical. The foods you choose are either helping your body maintain clarity or creating static that leads to inflammation, muscle loss, and vascular decline. Take oxidative stress, for example. It's the gradual accumulation of cellular damage caused by unstable molecules known as free radicals. When you're young, your body produces plenty of enzymes to neutralize these molecules. But as you age, that system slows down. The result, damage builds up faster than it can be repaired. Muscles lose their tone, blood vessels stiffen, and organs begin to operate under strain. Blueberries, rich in anthocyanins and other antioxidants, can slow that process by neutralizing oxidative stress at its source. But here's the catch. That benefit only exists if those compounds actually make it into your bloodstream intact. And this is where food combinations matter more than ever. When you're younger, your metabolism is resilient. It can handle mistakes, the sugary snacks, the creamy desserts, the processed oils, and still bounce back. But after 60, your metabolism loses flexibility. The same combinations that once seemed harmless can now tip the balance toward chronic inflammation. That's why pairing blueberries with milk, sugar, or processed fats isn't just less effective. It can actually accelerate the very decline you're trying to slow. What's particularly striking is how this ties into sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass. Sarcopenia isn't just about vanity or strength. It's about independence, mobility, and survival. Muscles are the body's largest organ system and a major reservoir for metabolism, regulating proteins. Once they begin to atrophy, everything else, from balance to immune response, starts to follow. Blueberries, with their vascular and anti-inflammatory properties, can support muscle regeneration by improving blood flow and protecting muscle fibers from oxidative damage. But again, they can't do this if their key compounds are chemically blocked or destroyed by other foods. So when we talk about seniors and diet, we're not just talking about nutrition. We're talking about precision biology. Every bite becomes more consequential. At 60 and beyond, your body's ability to recover, repair, and respond to food inputs is slower, but it's also more sensitive. Think of it like an old, finely tuned instrument. It doesn't need louder notes, it needs cleaner ones. The wrong frequency, even if well-intentioned, can distort the entire song. There's also a deeper emotional truth here. Aging often brings with it a subtle sense of loss, of youth, of certainty, of control. But food, when used with understanding, mitochondria can return some of that control. Every conscious meal is a small act of defiance against decline. Choosing the right combinations, letting blueberries do their full work, is not just a dietary choice, it's a psychological statement. I still have power over how I age. We often think of longevity as a matter of genetics or luck, but the truth is, much of it comes down to how we treat our cells, and our cells respond to how we eat. The difference between decline and renewal, between frailty and vitality, is often found not in pills or surgeries, but in the quiet daily decisions we make about what goes on our plate. And so, for those over 60, the message is not one of fear, but of opportunity. The body still listens. It still heals. It still responds to good information. Blueberries, when eaten with awareness, are one of the purest forms of that information. They tell your body to protect, to regenerate, to resist time's pull. But only if you let them speak clearly, because aging isn't the loss of youth. It's the discovery of precision. And every wise choice you make is your body's way of saying, I'm still alive and I still matter. When we talk about unlocking the full power of blueberries, we're not just talking about eating more of them, we're talking about how you eat them. The real secret isn't in quantity, it's in combination. Food doesn't work in isolation. Every nutrient interacts with another, amplifying or muting its effects like instruments in an orchestra. If you learn to conduct that orchestra, to combine foods intentionally, you transform your meals into something far greater than the sum of their parts. This is where the concept of food synergy comes alive. Think of synergy as nature's design for cooperation. Certain foods activate each other's benefits. They share pathways, they stabilize one another's compounds, and they deliver nutrients more efficiently. Blueberries, in particular, thrive in this kind of cooperative environment. Their anthocyanins, polyphenols, and fiber are highly responsive. They interact dynamically with other foods. If you choose their companions wisely, you can multiply their healing effects several times over. Let's start with the basics. Many people instinctively reach for dairy, milk, cream, or yogurt when they think of blueberries. But as we've discussed, dairy proteins can bind to the very antioxidants that make blueberries powerful. The smarter move is to switch to plant-based alternatives. Pair blueberries with soy yogurt, almond milk, or oatmeal, all of which preserve and even enhance the antioxidant activity of blueberries. Soy, in particular, contains isoflavones that work hand in hand with anthocyanins to improve vascular function. You're not just avoiding interference, you're building a partnership. Then there's green tea, one of nature's other great anti-aging tools. It contains catechins, plant compounds that protect DNA and enhance metabolism. When you combine green tea with blueberries, you create a biochemical synergy. The catechins and anthocyanins reinforce each other's antioxidant capacity. Studies show that this combination increases the absorption of both compounds, improving blood vessel flexibility and boosting oxygen delivery throughout the body. It's a simple pairing with extraordinary power, something as easy as sipping green tea while snacking on a handful of blueberries can literally change the chemistry of your blood. Next, let's talk about dark chocolate, real, minimally processed, high cocoa dark chocolate. Cocoa flavonols enhance microcirculation and stimulate nitric oxide production, which helps blood vessels relax. When eaten alongside blueberries, they form a kind of vascular super. Team 1 reduces oxidative stress, the other improves blood flow. Together, they support the same biological system, angiogenesis, that keeps muscles, the brain, and the heart young and strong. A small piece of dark chocolate with fresh blueberries isn't indulgence, it's strategy. Nuts are another perfect companion. Walnuts, almonds, and pistachios contain healthy fats that help the body absorb fat-soluble antioxidants and stabilize blood sugar. Blueberries' natural fiber slows glucose release, while the nuts' omega-3 and monounsaturated fats protect cell membranes. It's a slow, sustained release of energy, the opposite of the sugar spike and crash cycle that so often sabotages metabolism, especially in older adults. And let's not overlook whole grains like oats or quinoa. Their soluble fiber binds to bile acids and cholesterol, lowering cardiovascular risk. When eaten with blueberries, the polyphenols help modulate the gut microbiome, promoting beneficial bacteria that improve digestion, immunity, and even mood. You're not just eating for your muscles or your heart. You're feeding the ecosystem inside you. The real insight here is that food synergy isn't a diet, it's a dialogue. You're creating harmony within your body by aligning with the way nature designed food to function. Every smart pairing is an act of cooperation between species, between plant and human, molecule and cell. That's why the most powerful nutrition doesn't come from supplements or extracts. It comes from real foods working together in real time. For seniors, this knowledge becomes even more transformative. When your metabolism slows and your body's defense systems weaken, synergy becomes your best ally. You don't need massive changes or exotic ingredients. You need precision. A bowl of oatmeal with blueberries and walnuts, a cup of green tea in the afternoon, a few squares of dark chocolate after dinner. These small, consistent choices compound like interest, feeding your longevity account day after day. And beyond the biology, there's something profoundly philosophical about it. Food synergy teaches patience, attention, and respect for complexity. It reminds us that health isn't about control, it's about cooperation. You can't force your body into balance. You can only invite it there through understanding. So when you eat blueberries, don't just eat them for taste, eat them with awareness. Pair them with foods that share their mission to protect, repair, and rejuvenate. Because when foods work together, they speak more clearly to your biology, and your body responds in kind. In the end, longevity isn't built through restriction, it's built through harmony. Eat with intention, and your body will turn that wisdom into strength. At the end of the day, the message isn't just about blueberries, it's about awareness. It's about stepping out of autopilot and realizing that every bite you take is a form of communication with your biology. For decades, we've treated food like fuel, something to burn, something to consume. But food is far more intelligent than that. It's data, it's code, it's instruction. The body listens to it, interprets it, and acts accordingly. And the older we get, the more vital that communication becomes. When Dr. William Lee says, eat to activate, not to restrict, he's talking about this very principle. The foods you eat aren't meant to limit you. They're meant to inform your body how to heal, how to grow, how to adapt. The danger isn't in aging, it's in misunderstanding what aging requires. After 60, your biology doesn't crave less. It craves precision. It craves intelligence and choice. And that intelligence starts with mindfulness. Take blueberries as a symbol of that awareness. In isolation, they represent what's best about nature balance, beauty, and biochemical wisdom. But when we combine them carelessly with dairy, refined sugar, or processed oils, we drown out their voice. It's like tuning an instrument perfectly and then playing it in a noisy room. The potential is still there, but the message gets lost. So what we're really talking about here is the art of eating with consciousness. Every food carries a signature, a frequency that resonates with certain biological systems. Some foods amplify one another, creating harmony. Others clash, creating static. When you eat with awareness, you begin to sense that difference. You don't just feel full, you feel aligned. Now, this may sound philosophical, but it's deeply practical. A senior who understands this principle doesn't need a dozen supplements or complicated diets. They simply need to choose foods that speak the same language, foods that reinforce each other's healing potential. When you do that, you're not fighting aging, you're cooperating with life. And that's a key distinction because health isn't something you chase, it's something you cultivate. It's built meal by meal, decision by decision over decades. When you stop thinking of blueberries as a superfood and start seeing them as part of a greater conversation, a dialogue between nature and your body, you stop seeking miracles and start living them. There's also a psychological power in this shift. When you eat with understanding, you reclaim agency. You stop being a passive participant in your health and become an active co-creator. You realize that longevity isn't a reward given to the lucky. It's a skill developed through awareness. Every conscious choice reinforces that skill, just as every careless one erodes it. So when we say blueberries turn toxic, what we're really saying is that ignorance turns them toxic. When you eat unconsciously, when you stop listening, even good foods can work against you. But when you eat with clarity, even simple foods become medicine. That's the essence of Dr. Lee's philosophy, food as an instrument of empowerment. And it's not just about living longer. It's about living awake. It's about being present enough to understand that the small things, the color of your fruit, the texture of your grain, the pairing of your meal, are the quiet levers that shape your future. So here's the takeaway. You don't need to fear what's on your plate. You need to understand it. You don't need to memorize nutrition charts or follow fads. You need to learn how food speaks to your body and respond with respect. Blueberries aren't magical, your awareness is. When you combine the two, you create vitality that no supplement, no trend, and no shortcut can replicate. Because in the end, longevity isn't found in avoiding what's harmful, it's found in activating what's good. Eat with awareness. Live with intention. And remember, when you understand your food, you don't just feed your body, you feed your future.